So about a year ago, I didn't have the dream of owning a farm, and wandered by and saw the sign up, said for auction. It just happened to be our family's farm that my aunt sold and my dad couldn't buy about 10-15 years ago, and called my dad up, and here we are 1 year later.
And tell me that you love me, lovely Lady May.
So this is the old barn that I played in all the time. Shot sparrows out of the top. We had the old hay loft up here. Obviously we don't have hay anymore. We had livestock when I was little, but not anymore. This was one of the first tractors that I ever drove, but I'm going to show you the first tractor that I ever drove. Sitting right here is the old Alice Chalmers that my dad had when we were little, and he's fixed it up. I guess it still runs, but I remember that was the first tractor that I ever drove, and my dad had me drive it while he was with a handheld plow behind it. I've been back in the early 80s, so that was kind of fun. But this is a basketball court I learned to play basketball on. The hoop's gone now. It sat right where that Alice Chalmers is, but we played basketball here, and in the winter the snow would get really, really hard. After you'd snow, it'd melt and it'd freeze again. And if you missed, it would literally roll 400 yards down to the pond. And I used to get real scared when we'd play basketball out here at night because you could just hear the coyotes howling everywhere. So if you shot and you missed and it got on that snow and went down the hill, I was always scared to death to go get it, so I'd just leave it there till the next morning.
I've seen my share of trouble, and I've held my weight in shame, but I'm baptized in your name, lovely Lady May.
Yeah, I came down yesterday and it was a lot of fun. Sat in a tree line right over there. We planted some alfalfa so we could grow some big bucks and make home for some deer, and they're already hanging out there. I had about 6 or 7 deer out in front of me, and had a really nice buck walk underneath me, right underneath my stand. In my early years I probably would have shot it, but right now I'm more into management, and I want to make sure that we grow some big deer. If you shoot them small, they never grow big. So that's what we're planning on doing here. And there's nothing like sitting out and watching nature wake up, watching your own farm come to life. It's an amazing thing.
So that's my farm back there that's just got picked, and I'm going out for my first real deer hunt on my property. So I've got my tree stands hung. I've got a short walk just over the hill. I'm going to sit up in a tree for the night and see what happens.
You know, we all have dreams, and sometimes they seem like you can achieve them, but then something happens in your life where that dream changes, and that's what happened for me. You know, I didn't have that dream of owning a farm, and all of a sudden this happened, and now I've got a dream of not only owning my farm, but one day owning my dad's farm. It's just right across the road, maybe one of the neighbors' farms. But I was blessed to be at the right place at the right time and have the opportunity to come through when this came up for sale, because land doesn't come up for sale very often. When I went to that auction room, it was kind of intimidating. I saw some of those old farmers that, you know, I haven't seen since I was a little guy. And I mean, it was crazy to walk into that room and see all these people that I knew who were all retired and all had big money, and they were able to buy this farm, and you know they all probably wanted to because it's a good farm. It's got a lot of crop, 140 acres of corn, tillable. And over the course of the year, reflecting back, I come to realize that, you know, when you come into a small town, a small community, and the farmers around you know who you are and knows how much it means for you to be able to buy that farm. And at that auction, nobody bid against me. It was the craziest thing. And at the time, I was so nervous. It was a huge purchase for me, but I was so nervous. And I look back at it over the course of the last year, and I realized they didn't bid against me for a reason. And that's what community is all about. And I couldn't be more blessed to grow up here and know some of these farmers and know that they all have integrity, they all are good people, and they want to see success in the young farmers. When I grew up back in the early 80s, farming wasn't so good. A lot of farmers went broke. I know my dad fell on some really, really hard times financially. And I think my grandpa bailed him out. And it was a time when I grew up, kids, they weren't inspired to farm. It wasn't something that, my dad wanted us to do because it was so hard on him and there wasn't much financial gain from it. So farming was really hard. When I grew up, he didn't really want me to farm. He didn't want my brothers to farm. There just wasn't much in it. He worked his tail off over and over and over again for the same results. And, lucky for me and lucky for him, he stuck it out and farming came around. But my generation, we weren't brought up to farm. We were brought up to get off the farm. And so today, looking back, that's why all these corporate farmers are coming in and taking over all the farm ground, because the generation that should be in those fields working every day isn't. So now that acronym ANF, American East Farmer, is truer than ever, because the small guys just don't exist. They don't exist because of opportunity. They don't exist because they can't get ahead of the game. Equipment's super expensive. Farm ground's expensive. So if I could lease a farm out for a little bit less per acre to one of those smaller guys and give them an opportunity to grow and be successful, that's what it's all about.
Now the mountains all are blushing, and they don't know what to say, except a good long line of praises for my lovely Lady May. Now I ain't the toughest hickory that your axe has ever felled, but I'm a hickory just as well. I'm a hickory all the same. I came crashing through the forest as you cut my roots away, and I fell a good long ways for my lovely